Tweedledee, tweedledee, beedledee, 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 bee. Fuck the system, fuck the system. Fuck every ounce of the system. Abandon soap. Fuck me. We getting through this shit slow. Slow. All right, let's read some shit. The NRA doesn't care about black heroes. Jamel Robertson was the good guy with a gun. A black security guard subdued an active shooter in an Illinois bar. When the police arrived, they shot him. On Sunday night around 4 a.m., a Chicagoland police officer shot and killed Jamel Robertson, a black man, after reports of a shooting came from a bar in a Cook County suburb. Robertson, 26, was not the assailant. He was the armed security guard who had secured the alleged shooter and saved lives. He was shot for saving a person's life while being black. I wonder why President Trump and the NRA have been silent on this one. So this guy here, he was the security guard at a bar. Someone at the bar took out a gun and started shooting. Jamel was able to subdue the guy and was holding him at gunpoint, waiting for the police to show up and arrest the guy. And when the cops got there, they ended up shooting Jamel instead. Which I think happens to be a fucked up story personally. The way that Salon is trying to frame it, I think, is a little dishonest, honestly. Because Salon and all these other liberal outlets have always acted like the good guy with a gun just isn't a thing. You know, that a person with a gun couldn't possibly be the guy to stop the shooting. But Jamel Robertson actually was able to stop the shooting with a gun. You know, so now, because it fits their narrative on race, they're willing to momentarily suspend their narrative on guns and admit that good guys with guns do exist. Okay. Well, okay, that's fine. I think pretty much proves that a good guy with a gun can exist. This guy was at a bar. He's the security guard. Some other guy starts trying to shoot people, and Jamel stops that from happening. And is able, even though Jamel has a gun, he's able to stop the other guy who's shooting up the bar. He's able to stop him without killing him. But then the police show up, don't bother to ascertain anything, and just shoot Jamel, thinking he must be the shooter. He's black, he's got a gun, he must be the shooter. And so they shot him. And I think it's funny that a bar security guard is able to stop a shooter, an active shooter, without using lethal force, but the police that show up are not able to restrain themselves from using lethal force, and in doing so, they shot the wrong person, a person who is apparently better at their jobs than they are. And it is kind of funny that groups like the NRA have been silent about this. It is kind of funny that Trump has been silent about this. Isn't this the classic hero that they've been trying to convince us exists for quite some time? Well, of course they can't talk about this story because the way it ends is the hero gets shot by the police. It kind of reminds me, in fact, it more than kind of reminds me of the movie Night of the Living Dead, where the black protagonist of the film, the hero of the film, who has survived the zombie hordes, ends up finally getting killed, not by the zombie hordes, but by a bunch of stupid fucking rednecks out there trying to kill zombies. And of course, you know, there was a serious racial component to that movie as well. Someone said, just standing there pointing a gun at someone who I assume is unarmed is not a good position to put himself in to be found by cops when you've called in an active shooter. Yeah, but the guy he was pointing the gun at was a shooter. You know, how else are you going to ensure that he's subdued other than pointing a gun at him? You know, and the security guard, He had every reason to have a gun. He had every reason to be pointing it. The real question is not, why is he pointing a gun at a guy who tried to shoot up the bar? The real question is, why didn't the police try to figure out what was going on before they just summarily opened fire and executed somebody? You know? That's pretty much all I have to say about it. All right, so here's this crazy bitch. Check this out. This bitch is called Kat Care. I've never heard of her before, but she's a fascinating fellow.
This is a great shift of God already in our country. He has his hand on our country right now.
Cool.
And I can let you know he does have a plan with the red tsunami. And yes, it did happen. And no, I will not repent for saying that, because guess what?
You don't have to repent for saying it. You just have to explain what the hell you're talking about, because there clearly was no red tsunami. There wasn't much of a blue wave, but you could certainly make a better case for a blue wave than you could a red tsunami at this point. I mean, Democrats pretty decisively gained control of the House. They gained a bunch of governorships. The only place where they lost anything was in the Senate, which they already didn't control. The Senate was already red. It just got marginally redder. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
He hasn't repented, and he's not going to, because he knows his plan.
Who, God? God hasn't repented? Well, yeah. Who would he repent to? He's God already, right?
That means to him. The red tsunami did happen. God put where he wanted things to happen. The Senate.
Well, if it's all a matter of what God wants and he puts things where he wants, then how come you Christians are always babbling about free will? You know, isn't it the electorate that put people where they wanted? And if it's the case that it's just God's will, everything that happens in our elections is not really up to us, it's up to God, then I'm assuming you also thought Obama was God's chosen president as well, right? Or was that the devil? Was that Satan?
Of course, we know went red. That means it went Republican. And that's good news, because that's less trouble for Trump. But those who represented the blue, some of those Democrats do not want socialism in this country. Some
yeah, most Democrats don't. What's your point?
on purpose. On purpose. Now, this might be a flip for you. People are always accusing Democrats who flipped a Republican just so they could take advantage of it or hide in that area. But I can tell you, some did flip on purpose from Republican to Democrat to see inside the Democratic Party what was going on.
Oh, okay. So all of the Democrats who got elected in the House are really just Republican spies trying to check out what really goes on in the Democratic inner circle. Well, I hate to break it to you, but these Democrats and Republicans that you imagine are such enemies, they're all buddies. They're all friends. They don't have to put spies to see what each other are up to. They're pretty much all working together. They meet at big bars and cigar clubs and shit where they all get together and plot their next move and plot out the next act in the fucking political pageant that they enact against each other. So there's no need for any sort of infiltration there. We live in a one-party system where the two parties pretend to be different, and maybe marginally they are on a few things, but for the most part, they're in absolute agreement. We talked about this earlier. They're in agreement on foreign policy. They're in agreement on most monetary policy. They're in agreement on keeping money in politics, because all of them are getting fat paid by giant corporations. So they're pretty much all in collusion and cahoots. There's not much need for infiltration there.
See, God does have scouts also. And so those who were sent as scouts.
I love this idea that God's a Republican. It's kind of like how everybody, when they're watching football, thinks that God is interceding in the game, that God has like a particular sports team that he likes better than the other sports team. I guarantee you that if there is a God, he doesn't give a flying fuck about Republican or Democrat any more than he gives a shit about the fucking Philadelphia Eagles or the fucking Rams or the Chargers or any other fucking football team. God does not give a shit about things like that. Well, first of all, he doesn't even exist. But if he did, he wouldn't give a shit about things like that, because why would he? Why conceivably would God look down on his creation that he has absolute dominion over, look at one particular country, the United States of America, and try to pick which political party he likes best? Makes zero sense.
And those who got elected because they are scouts in the Democratic Party will make a huge difference in the House. So open your eyes and open your ears to the possibilities that God has another plan besides yours.
Okay.
He did send himself in the
You know, God planned for you to have white hair, and yet here you sit with pink hair. So maybe you should accept God's plan as well.
Senate and some in the Democratic Party. So pray for both places. Pray for what God wants to do in our country.
All right.
Stop picking it apart. Stop.
Well, if it's all about what God wants to do, what do I even need to pray for? Like, even if I was a hardcore Republican, what am I going to pray? All right, God, I pray that you will do what you're already doing. What does that make sense? You know, if you're going to pray, the whole point of prayer is to try to change God's mind, to try to convince God over to your way of thinking. And there is biblical precedent for that, you know. Isaac or Abraham. Abraham, when he heard God was going to go destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he's like, well, wait, what if there's 50 righteous men? And God's like, well, I guess I'd spare it then. And he's like, what about 45? You know, he kept Jewing God down lower and lower and lower until it was like, I think God agreed if there was like 15 righteous people, he'd spare it. So, you know, there is actually precedent for going to God and telling him what you think and him being like, all right, fair enough. So you can change God's mind according to the Bible. But you know, even keeping that in mind, there's no point in praying for God to just do what he's already doing. You say he has a plan and that we shouldn't question it. So what's the point of praying about it? I'm going to sit there and pray. Oh, I pray that God does what he's doing. Well, he's already doing it, so you don't need to pray about that. Unless you're just praying to let him know that you're okay with it.
Stop picking people apart and leave the prophets alone. It is not your job to judge them. It is not your job to demand that they repent for something.
Okay.
That is God's job. And you
Who's doing this?
are not God.
I am. I think I am. Pretty sure I am. It's time for Ben Shapiro. Speaking of God, Ben Shapiro, the best evidence for God.
Okay. Crystal says, hey, Ben, what would you say is the best evidence for God?
This is not double speed, believe it or not. This is normal Ben Shapiro talk. It's the one motherfucker I could never play on double speed.
What gives you a reason to believe? Thanks for all you do. My husband and I listen to your show every day and discuss it together. We're big fans. So I'm writing a book on this. The best evidence for God, as I have said on the show before, and as I say in Debate with Sam Harris, which I think is going to, he'll be putting that out pretty soon if he hasn't already. The basic idea is that if you believe in free will, if you believe in human reason,
So if I believe in free will, I don't. If I believe in human reason, I don't. In fact, Ben Shapiro is a walking refutation of why I don't believe in human reason. There's a quote, I don't remember who said it, but it's a great quote. It goes something like, man is not a rational animal, he is a rationalizing animal.
believe in our capacity to understand the universe.
I don't believe in that either.
You believe in a predictable universe with laws that govern it.
I do believe in that.
If you believe we do not live in a chaotic universe without...
Well, I don't believe that either. I think, you know, you think chaos and order are mutually exclusive, but they're quite linked.
Without meaning. If you believe that you can derive ought from is, then you need to believe in a divine creator. Okay, and that's not an argument for the Bible, but that's...
Okay, so wait. What you're actually advocating there is take your existing beliefs, take beliefs that you have. I hold these positions, so therefore I also have to hold this position. Well, that's kind of weird. Shouldn't those positions derive from an already existent belief in God? It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse, don't you think? You know? Like, shouldn't you have some sort of evidence for God exists and then you derive all of those other things from that notion rather than, well, I believe all these things are true. I believe in free will and man's rationality and all this, so I have to believe in God, which doesn't even make sense anyway. It seems like you could have all those things without a God, but, even if you couldn't, it's like you're basically saying if you have all of these faith positions, then this is the big faith umbrella that you have to put all those faith positions under. It's kind of silly.
That is an argument for God, right? That's the Aristotelian argument for God, is that there is a rationale behind everything. If you believe there's a rationale behind everything, then
why would anyone believe that? I don't think anyone truly believes that. I think that's something people tell themselves to comfort themselves, especially when something really disgusting and evil happens. People say, well, there has to be a reason. No, there doesn't. I guess they're, on a chain of causalistic determinism, there might be a reason. But as far as some grand purpose, the Nazis just murdered 6 million people, but, I think in the grand scheme of things, no, there is no grand scheme of things. Those people were murdered because of bigotry and desperation. It wasn't part of God's plan.
You believe in God. And if you believe, as Aquinas did, that rationale is purely actual, right? Here's sort of the argument that Aristotle makes. The argument that Aristotle makes for the unmoved mover is not that everything has a cause and therefore there's God, because then leftists and atheists just say, well, does God have a cause also, right? The idea is that everything that you see in front of you at one point was another thing that was actualized, right? There's two that something has potential, and there's the potential and the actual, right? Like this piece of paper right here, this has the potential to be ash, but it requires fire in order to make it ash.
Right.
Now, fire itself also had a potential at one point, right? It was a match, and it was a piece of wood, or it was a rough surface.
Right, I gotcha.
So it had the potential to be fire, but it was not fire.
No.
So in order for something to become actual, in order for potential to be actualized, it has to be acted upon by something that is either fully actual or something that is a combination of the actual with its own potential.
Okay.
The idea here would be that there is something that lies behind everything that is purely actual. Right? It is actuality itself. It is the most actual thing. And this thing cannot be material because if it were...
What is it, the most actual thing? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's a bunch of empty jargon. It's not even jargon, because jargon would imply that it's someone's stock and store. It's basically just nonsense. Even if we did concede the argument, how would you prove that the purely actual thing is God? And how does that get you out of the, how does that get you out of the uncaused cause argument that atheists would make? How does that get you out of explaining God? You're still positing, hey, there must have been some sort of thing that set everything in motion. And that what you're positing for that thing is a completely actualized entity with a form and a nature and a system of thought and a system of reasoning, who brought reality into being to glorify himself. Oh, that's another thing he has, a gender.
Material, then it would have potential for change. Right? It doesn't have potential for change, therefore it is purely actual. And that pure actuality also
must be God.
Is all-knowing, because anything that exists has to come from a place of capacity for being actualized.
What the fuck are you talking about, you psycho? What? That's like saying that a match has to know what fire is in order to make fire. It doesn't. A match doesn't need to understand fire to make fire. Hydrogen and oxygen don't need to understand what water is in order to form water. There's no need for knowledge. There's no need for even the capacity for knowledge in those things in order for them to create.
And so it's the unactualized actualizer is the way that God would be put. If you want to read...
the unactualized actualizer. Yeah. So changing the word cause to the word actualize somehow makes it a different argument. Nope. Sorry, Ben. Doesn't work, you fucking sophist piece of shit.
A good book about proofs of God. Then Edward Feser is a book I've recommended on the show. He has 5 proofs of the existence of God. Quite a good book. And I recommend you check it out. Good Christmas read, actually. I would recommend that you check that out.
Okay.
again, I think what it comes down to in the end is you either believe there's a purpose and meaning in human life or you don't. If you don't, you may end up an atheist. If you do, you're going to end up a God no matter how you slice it. And any attempts to avoid that, which is the debate I had with Sam Harris, any attempt.
So start with the concept of meaning, and then from that bullshit subjective idea of meaning, you just derive God. There's also a healthy dose of like anthropocentrism going on here, where it kind of reminds me of the Douglas Adams thing, where there's a sentient puddle, and it's like, oh wow, this universe was clearly made for us because we're here in this puddle. You know, this hole that this puddle is in is shaped perfectly for this puddle. It's like, no, you're putting the cart before the horse. You know, the hole doesn't exist to perfectly fit the puddle. The puddle perfectly exists to fit the hole because of the nature of water. And that's kind of the same thing Ben Shapiro is doing. He's like, oh, wow, well, you know, if you look at us and you look at our place in the universe, and if you have to believe there's a meaning and there's a rationale for our being. Well, if there was, then, I mean, like, what evidence is there that the universe has any sort of special concern for human beings? As far as we know, we only exist on the surface of one planet. We've only existed for a short time of the universe's history. We've existed for like 200,000 years of the universe's, like 13 billion year history, 14 billion year history, something like that. So we've only existed for a short time. We only exist on a small, tiny, insignificant little speck of the universe. We only exist on one planet. We're not even able to live on all of that planet. We can't live on the ocean. We can't live in the Antarctic. We can't live underground, or at least we can't live too far underground. We can't live in space as of yet without some sort of technological assistance. You know, most of this universe is totally inhospitable to us, but because in the vastness of this cosmos, on one fucking little speck of dust somewhere in the infinite fucking universe, there exists some primates that are intelligent enough to ask questions about meaning. That means that the universe somehow is there for us, and that we have some sort of great purpose. We don't, you know, and even if there was a universe of like pure plasma that was just a big ball of plasma that, you know, is superheated or supercharged in some way, where a human being would just be destroyed the instant we tried to enter that universe, totally inhospitable to us. Maybe in that universe there's some fucking sentient flying space stingrays that are like, wow, this plasmatic universe is made just for us because look at how it's just so. Where, no, it's not how it works. You know, life is an emergent property that adapts to its environment. It's not the other way around. The environment wasn't created for life. Life was created for the environment. And there's no greater purpose to it. There's no divine fucking presence that intended us or cares about us. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. It's just another stupid argument, and changing the word cause to the word actualize doesn't make a shitty argument that's been refuted 1,000,000 times into a good argument that can't be refuted. Gay liberal parents attack son because he wears Trump 2020 hat.
You won't have any friends.
Can you give me Max? Can you give me my hat?
No.
They should kick their son out for not knowing how to hold a camera.
60 million people were killed in the last century because of shit like this, okay?
60 million
You don't,
people
listen to me,
killed.
you do not wear this in my house.
You don't even.
I'm allowed to wear one
You-
hat.
I'm pretty sure no one was killed because of a red hat that says "Make America Great Again." What, 60 million people were killed because of shit like that? What shit like that? What do you mean? Define what you're talking about.
Do not, in my house, this hate.
I'm allowed
This, you will
It's
not.
not hate. I'm allowed
Matt,
to. But you guys are the ones hating.
Get out. Get out.
Max,
That
no.
lock is
You know
going
what?
to be
You know
changing.
what?
All your
I'm
shit's
not,
going to
you know
be
what?
thrown out.
You know why I'm not? You know why I'm upset?
Can I have
You've
that?
lost your mind. Okay.
Yeah, you
Can I have the
This
hat?
is not a political view. This is hate. You do not wear this.
Get out.
You do not wear, Max.
Get out. Can I have?
You do not.
Get out. Get out of this house. Get out! This is what people are gonna say to you with a job.
No,
with a house.
just you guys, because you
No,
guys are
no,
crazy.
You wait.
You guys are crazy.
You're 22 years old. What do you know?
You
know
guys are
shit.
crazy. I know a lot.
You don't know anything.
You guys don't know shit. You guys just saying he's racist
Oh,
and
really?
shouting out,
How long
trying to
have
be
we been-
abusive.
we've been- oh, please.
This kid sounds real distraught about getting kicked out. But this kid's 22, so I mean, like at the age of 22, yeah, I think you could. I'm pretty sure your parents. I mean, like I've seen a lot of conservatives making a real big deal about this, but you know, lots of gay kids have been kicked out well before the age of 22. At the age of fucking 18, your parents have the right to kick you the fuck out of the house. So at the age of 22, they definitely have the right. Do I think that it makes sense to kick him out for a hat? Do I think that the hat represents hate? No and no. But at the same time, it's absolutely their fucking right to kick out their fucking kid because because they don't like his politics. I guarantee that if this was if you have a household where it's some, straight-laced, goody-good Christian family and their son comes out as gay, they might kick him out. Even if he comes out as just liberal, like I support Obama or I support Bernie Sanders, he might get kicked out. So whatever. And especially at the age of 22, it's like, cry me a river.
Yes.
Get out. Go. Go.
Get out. Go.
And don't be surprised one day when
Get
it's
out of
all
here.
changed and all your shit's in here and you have nothing.
Damn. So let's see. No, I don't want to fucking see no Ben Shapiro shit. Let's see some of the comments, because that's where the real gold is. When NPCs attack. I love this NPC shit. Like these liberals they all sit around sharing talking points and they all believe the same, unlike us conservatives with our tremendous diversity of thought. Absolutely appalling. The kid's 22, dude. He's not even really a kid. He's a fucking grown man. Yet another example of liberal intolerance. I mean, I guess you could say that. Typical intolerance of the LGBT community. I am transgender and lesbian identified, and I was ostracized because of my conservative views, both political and theological. Rather than change my views, I left the LGBT community. How do you leave that community? Because I'm pretty sure if you're already an L and a T, you're just some bacon away from being a BLT. So I don't think you can leave the community. I don't think it's based on participation. If you are those things, then you're part of that, whether you like it or not. Am I the only one not surprised at all that the two gay left-wing parents produced a Trump-supporting son? Lol. Wait, so are you saying that the only reason people become Trump supporters is because they have gay parents? You're saying that basically he was like, that it's just like a phase and he's just rebelling? I think you might want to examine your statement. It doesn't really look that flattering to your position. Wearing a MAGA hat today is like being openly gay in 1950. Is it though? I'm pretty sure it's not. Because I think it was actually like illegal to be gay in 1950, and I'm pretty sure you were risking your life to be gay in 1950. I don't really think you're risking your life to wear a MAGA hat. And I'm pretty sure it's legal to wear them. And I'm pretty sure half the country or at least half the voting country voted for Trump. So I don't think it's like this super fringe thing. I guess the left don't believe in unconditional love. Who does? Who the fuck believes in unconditional love? Love is always conditional. That'd be like saying if you fucking walk in on your kid raping your dog or something, you're just going to be like, well, I still unconditionally love him. It's like, no, fuck that kid. That kid sucks. He's a dog rapist. Throw him in the trash. Not to say that wearing a Trump hat is the equivalent of raping a dog, but you know what I'm saying? They are not liberal. They are progressives. That's pretty much the same. They share no liberal values, just identify as them. We need to stop using that word to describe them, as it's another attempt on their part to change our language. I don't even understand what this person's talking about. They got mad because they lost control of their son. Thank God the kid has a mind of his own. He's 22. I'm pretty sure it's all right for him to be out in the world. I'm just saying. This is what happens when the corporate media constantly lies to people. This is why the corporate media is the enemy of the people. I mean, I can kind of see what they're saying there, because you know, instead of attacking Trump in any sort of like substantive way, a lot of the mainstream media outlets just choose to try to constantly frame him as racist, frame him as hateful and all this shit. And, you know, it's like we're not going to actually attack him in a substantive, policy-oriented kind of way, because then you'd actually have to have a discussion and an argument and a battle of ideas. It's easier to just say, well, he's an evil, bad, racist, bad orange man. And, you know, so, you know, maybe that is part of it, because I do think it's a pretty ridiculous reaction to think that just because someone's wearing a MAGA hat, that means that they must be a fucking Nazi or something, or that they're part of an ideology that apparently has killed 60 million people. I don't know where they get that from. Their cheapening of the Nazi regime is abhorrent. On this date, 11/11, we remember all those who fell against such tyranny so that their son can freely wear that hat and they can freely live as a gay couple in peace. I'm pretty sure that, you know, like actually a lot of times in the concentration camps, when the U.S. Army rolled through and liberated all the Jews and gypsies and all the other people, a lot of times they did not liberate the gays. They're like, nope, you guys can stay in the concentration camp. We actually agree with the Nazis on that one. So, no, the war against Nazis was not fought so that gay couples could live in peace here in America. There was none of that. America was pretty much just as homophobic as the Nazis were at that point in our history. So whatever, but I get what you're saying. Unfit to be parents if they can't accept their son for who he is. I don't know. He seems to have reached the age of 22, and he's well-fed and alive, and apparently he's decided to side with your politics, so they couldn't have done that bad of a job raising him. Wait, I thought love trumps hate. No, Trump hates love, and people love to hate Trump. Today's liberals are some of the most intolerant people on earth. Their actions are the veritable definition of hypocrisy. Well, these gay dudes seem to believe that the hat represents like genocide. So they're laboring under a weird misconception. So if you actually believe that that hat is the equivalent of like a swastika, if you've actually been so brainwashed that you think that Trump is the equivalent of a Nazi, then maybe you'd have that reaction too. But, you know, it just kind of says that these two have been sort of brainwashed. Let's do a few more. Wow, what a disgraceful way to treat your kid. These parents should be ashamed of themselves. They claim to be fighting hate by kicking their kid out of the house. Do they really believe that the 63 million Americans who voted for Trump did it because of hate? I mean, some did. I definitely know some racists who voted for Trump strictly for racist reasons. How stupid do you have to be to believe in such nonsense? Liberalism is a mental disorder. I love that one. Dude, get out of the house and don't look back. Trust me, they will come back begging. They are idiots. Who allowed them to adopt? Are they really going to come back begging? I mean, kid's 22. It kind of seems like he should already be out on his own anyway. Yeah, I know I've made that. When I find myself making the same point over and over again, it's probably time to move on. So, but that's funny. A lot of people ask me to react to this. I don't know if this is something that... oh, shit, I should probably switch back to the this view.
Welcome to Rhyme City.
Are they saying Rhyme City? Is that what it's called? Rhyme City?
Celebration of the harmony between humans and Pokemon.
Pokemon. Don't do that.
Tim.
Why is it playing the Harry Potter music? That's what I want to know. Like, that music that just played was pretty much the Harry Potter music. Like, the melody was slightly different, but not much. Had the same tone and everything. Why are they trying to make this into Harry Potter? Why are they stealing that?
Your dad was a legend in this precinct.
Your dad was a legend in this precinct. You also must be a legend.
Anything like your dad.
I'm not. Sorry. Sorry, Asians.
I remember.
I didn't mean to be racist.
You wanted to be a Pokemon trainer when you were young.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't really work out.
All right.
Someone there?
This is where it gets real dumb.
Whoever you are, I know how to use this.
It's a staple.
Oh, jeez. Here we go. I know.
All right. So here's where it lost me, man. Because, you know, I'm not a huge Pokemon fan and all that, but, like, the second I see Pikachu and Ryan Reynolds' voice starts coming out, I'm kind of just like, what? Like, why is this happening? Like, who on earth thought this was a good idea? I mean, apparently it probably is a good idea because this is #1 trending thing on YouTube, 776 thumbs up. So apparently a lot of people were like, yeah, Ryan Reynolds is Pikachu. That's what I want. But I don't get it. I mean, like, Ryan Reynolds is, I'm sorry to say, just not that tolerable for me in most instances. About the most tolerable he's ever been is playing Deadpool, and even then I'm kind of just like, meh. So I'm pretty much sick of Ryan Reynolds, and it's not like he even brings a distinctive, interesting voice to the character. It's just, hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds, but now I'm a fucking Pikachu.
Understand me, but put down the stapler or I will electrocute you.
Did you just talk?
Whoa. Did you just understand me?
Oh my God, you can understand me. Stop. I've been so lonely.
They try to talk to me all the time. All they hear is Pika Pika.
You can hear him, right?
Pika Pika. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want Pikachu to just say Pika Pika. I don't want him to have the voice of Ryan Reynolds. I'm sorry. That's a real sticking point for me, man. Like, I don't want Ryan Reynolds' voice coming at me. And even if I do want it coming at me, I certainly don't want it coming out of the fucking mouth of Pikachu. But I guess, you know, some people, they want this. I don't know why. Good for them. Glad that they're getting what they want, but I don't want it.
Pika Pika Pika, he's adorable.
You're adorable. They can't understand me, kid.
Can no one else hear him? I don't need a Pokemon, period.
And what about a world-class detective?
He doesn't need a Pokemon, period. I mean, he sleeps on a bed that has Pikachu ears coming out of it. So, what? Like, he's obsessed with Pokemon. He wanted to be a Pokemon trainer. He's got Pokemon decorations in his house. But he doesn't want a Pokemon? What's the deal with that shit?
I'm your best bet. We're gonna do this. You and me.
I guess a lot of people were pissed about this Jigglypuff because I guess Jigglypuff is not supposed to have hair. He's just supposed to be some weird latex gimp ball. I'm kind of glad they didn't do that, though.
There's magic.
It's kind of distracting how the Pokemon all still look like super cartoonish, even though it's supposed to be in the real world. Like, I wish it was, I mean, I guess it's kind of going for like a Roger Rabbit sort of thing where human beings kind of live alongside toons, because that's the only way that this makes any sense.
That brought us together, and that magic is called hope.
That magic is called hope. Go away.
Listen up. We got ways to make you talk. Or mime.
Yeah.
So tell us what we want to know. Pipe. Yes. Okay, I can.
Apparently a lot of people were like creeped out by this thing too, which I don't find it that creepy, but I guess some people were like really freaking out about this fucker. Like they just think he's like super scary looking.
My problem is that I push people away and then hate them for leaving.
He's saying you can shove it.
What? I can shove it? Okay, that's it. No, we're switching roles. I'm bad cop. You're good cop.
No, we're not cops.
Ha 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 ha, because it's like a mime guy and he fucking created a wall with his hands and then the wall was real somehow. And Pikachu tried to jump at the wall and then he fell down. That's funny shit, man. Pikachu fall down. I bet Ryan Reynolds has a pretty amusing quip about that, huh?
In my head, I saw that differently.
In his head, he saw that differently. Yeah, he didn't. That's not what he expected to happen. He expected something else because he was told to shove it. This sucks. Who the hell is Justice Smith? Is that like another one of Will Smith's kids that I never heard about? Is that like Will Smith's like nephew? What the fuck is going on? That's a pretty promising scene. Apparently Pikachu gets eaten by fucking Charizard, so That seems like worth the price of admission. Yeah, Detective Pikachu. That looks horrible. I don't want to see it. Anyone want to see that? Does anyone want to see it? What do you guys think? I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like anyone in my chat seems all that thrilled about it either. So yeah, fuck that shit. No good. No bueno. No bueno. Oh, man. Man, I have some other good stuff, but fuck, I've been doing this so long, I feel like I'm kind of running out of energy. So maybe I'll save the rest of this for something else. Maybe I'll come back and do another one of these in a few nights, because I promised 2 a month anyway. So I'll probably save the rest of what I got. Let me make sure there's nothing too time sensitive here. No, pretty much all these I could do. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to both part 1 and 2 of this stream. I appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed both parts. But I think I'm going to go fucking do something else now, because I've been doing this for a few hours, and I think I'm good. Yeah, maybe I will continue tomorrow. I might do that. I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. Fare thee well.